Hello, everybody. Makes me think of that Lost series. I don't know if you ever saw that. But anyway, welcome back to the channel for today's video. Coming back to you live outside today. And as you see, the sun is shining because the sun is always shining. You may not see it if there's a cloudy day, but it's still there. Let's keep your hope and your faith alive because you will make it. You can make it. I'm going to tell you something. So, I don't know if you ever heard of these people. They're kind of old now, but when I was a kid, I grew up with it. It made me when I just said you can make it because that was their slogan. But it was these evangelists, Jim and Tammy Baker, Tammy Faye Baker. It's how my family moved to Charlotte. I was probably 9 years old. We moved from New York and we moved to Charlotte because when I was real little, we'd come down here for a couple of weeks out of the summer and they would go to some kind of, it was like a revival. And we would just like, they had this, they were pastor evangelists, kind of like the ones you see on TV with the lightning bolt, blue thunder carpet and everything. And they were corrupt, I guess, too. But anyway, I got close with their son, Jamie Charles, and I got to actually drive around with security once in a while because, they were high profile after we moved down here. And I got to stay in the mansion. And when they got busted for all this crap they were doing, they would talk about that mansion, and it eventually burned down, but they talked about during all the litigation, they talked about that they had a air-conditioned doghouse. But really, when it came to the doghouse, it was only like a shed, and they put a window air conditioner in it. But you know what, man? If I had a dog, and I was leaving my dog outside in Charlotte in the summer or something, I'd put a window air conditioner in there too. Some stuff on TV and in court can be preposterous sounding, but you just gotta take everything for what it is and come to your own decisions, Look at it objectively. They had one hell of a scandal. I don't know. It was just one of those things. And then for me, when you grow up in something, you kind of tend to think like that might be the way, or you're indoctrinated into believing whatever your parents thoughts are. That's why it becomes generational curses. If you continue to allow yourself to be a robot in any situation and just accept only the parameters that your parents place upon you, and to never cross the line, so to speak, because depending on what kind of family you grew up in, it could be really a heavy, fearful thing. And I get that. And that can be really hard to deal with. If you grew up people pleasing, you didn't want to have to go that route at all. But I think what helped me is I knew my parents were not going to give me anything. They had a little bit of money, but they really put it into real estate. So we didn't have a whole lot of, we really lived like, not poor, but it was like kind of subpar. Like we couldn't turn the air conditioning on in the summer, but we had it. Or it had to be like 80 degrees in there. And instead of using heat, get this kerosene heater. And that thing was like a bomb waiting to explode because you want to pay the electric bill for the heat. So it was kind of like we had enough. It's not like we lacked, but we didn't have good stuff because really, really frugal. And we didn't have air conditioning and heating, and sometimes we ate some leftovers for a week or something, So I remember buying my own furniture for my room, getting hand-me-downs and getting made fun of for that. I was motivated had turned 14. I was a new freshman in high school, and I was like, I got to get a job. to take me down to the courthouse and get me sign off on a worker's permit, because back then, exception. And I started out as a dishwasher, man, making $4.25 an hour, man. And it was 100 degrees back there. And sometimes it would be it was a Greek restaurant, it would be full, packed out. And I'd be the only dishwasher in there. And I'd work like after school from like 4 to 10. Somebody picked me up and dropped me off. And I'd almost worked 40 hours a week since I was 14. But I guess I'm saying all that because what helped me break out of some of the situations of breaking down walls where I used to hustle a lot of different jobs. I mean, I ended up, because after that I went to Carowinds and I worked there. It's like one of those amusement parks, and it was a seasonal thing. So every season, at the end of the season, I'd have to get another job for the winter. So I ended up being and I did that 4 years after being that dishwasher, because you had to be 15 to work at Carowinds. They paid a little bit more and you wouldn't get zits from all the grease and stuff. I worked a job every other, 2 jobs. Well, I'd work Carowinds and then go to another winter job, and then Carowinds, and then find another winter job. Ended up working all these different jobs over the years. And then I had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do for a living. So I ended up trying to find my way, and ended up becoming a nurse. And I really enjoyed that work because you help people, man. And I have a story behind that too. But because when you have to wear many hats, or you have worn many hats, you get to a place where you have to come out of your comfort zone, whether you like it or not. And I had to make money because I didn't want to live like that. So I could buy my own clothes, man, some new ones. And I don't know. I didn't really appreciate some of those things. Using coupons everywhere you went for dinner or at the grocery store. I mean, it was like, to me, it just got to a point to where it was like degrading. And I understand if you have to use coupons or if you want to use them once in a while, but it was like always coupons. So, but yeah, I grew up with their son for a little while. I understood like that kind of evangelical TV pastor stuff, I never really sat well with me. So that was something that I had to, figure out. You got to figure things out for your own self. Spiritually, I'm not I'm not really with those TV pastors. I mean, or you know what I do? I take the meat and throw the bones with anything, because you're never going to get exactly what you want when it comes to trying to get knowledge from people. You have to be willing to bend or to become more liquid in the situation so that you can receive what is in it for you to receive. And people are so scared these days to look into anything. And that's what the world will do. They will place fear in you, and sometimes the church organizations will. And that's on purpose, because they don't want you to know certain aspects of certain things. And if you did, you would be more understanding of a broader expanse. And they want to hold you down. You're held down a lot of times by knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They all come from, it depends on the knowledge that you receive and how you feel in your heart and your mind, right? And those are the two things that help you. That's what's going to make you willing to understand it or become wise by implementing it. So I have come out of, sometimes your family or families in general, or just people, let's just say people, anybody, they can be very closed-minded. And I think I was somewhat forced to not be closed-minded because of what I wanted out of life. Being closed-minded wasn't going to get me there. Now, I wasn't going to become unethical in my vision, but it was something that I had to go inside and find out what worked for me, I don't want to sacrifice my relationship with the Lord, but your relationship with the Lord is called a relationship, not religion. And people get that confused. It's not supposed to be religion. It's supposed to be relationship with the Lord. And when you know him, you understand that. It's about you touching base with him in prayer, talking to him. Prayer could be just like how I'm talking to you. That's how I talk to him. And I do out loud by myself, have a conversation with the Lord, tell him my thoughts. I don't have to close my eyes and put my hands together. That's religion. I don't have to kneel down and put a cross, the signal of a cross around my body. And when you have a relationship with somebody, you love that individual, you put time into that individual, you invest. And for you to get anybody to invest in you, you have to invest in them, and you have to be willing to trust them, and they have to be willing to trust you. So it has to go both ways. And for me, the Lord taught me everything, a lot. Taught me how to let go of certain things from childhood. Because I dealt with, in my younger years before I got saved, I dealt with jealousy and greed. I remember dealing with those things, but they were put to death. When I got saved, a lot of that stuff shedded from me very quickly. I think when you grow up and at a certain age, something's going to hit you to try to wake you up. And that's my opinion. To become a free thinker or to just believe what your parents think, it's kind of like for instance, sometimes people just vote a certain way. And if you were to ask them, why do you vote for that person? I personally don't vote at all because I think the whole thing is fixed. I know it is. They're appointed and they're acting out a position. But if you were to ask these individuals, why do you vote that way? And they seem so passionate. They couldn't tell you. They don't even know what the different parties stand for, represent, or what they're trying to persuade in their nomination. But it's just one of them things. I know in Revelation it talks about, to come out of Babylon, all ye to come out of Babylon. Meaning don't be caught up in the systems of the world, because the systems of the world are fixed. They're fake. And you got to live in Babylon. Babylon now is the whole world. That's why it's called Mystery Babylon in Revelation. It's the whole world. I kind of took it like the Lord was saying, you got to live in Babylon, but you don't have to be involved in Babylonian things. You don't have to vote. You don't have to tell anybody either. But if the Babylonians want to vote, let them vote. That's my take on it. It's just like another division, dividing to conquer. And the world does that all the time. You hear the birds chirping, man? The birds, beautiful. There's got to be a clear-cut division on certain things, where you got to pick your side or whatever. But when it comes to something that, my opinion, is fixed, doesn't really matter. And it's already a junked up system that is unhopeful for the future, especially if it continues to go like it is. I can't even get my mail these days without somebody stealing it, without somebody diverting it to their house. And that's a judge or some shit. That's like a judge. I think I got a judge, y'all, living in my house, stealing my inheritance, or some FBI sheriff or some shit, and a con artist side piece or something. I don't know. Anyway, just chilling, walking around. But the narcissists, there's something else, y'all. They never change. And, they like to get you hooked into them using those cords, they like to get you, Jesus. They like to get you hooked into them using those cords that they plug into you when they first meet you and do that hot and cold. That's really how they get you. And that's where they get you. And then the intercourse and stuff, that stuff will get you hooked into a point with them to where you're addicted. And that's what forms that soul tie that you have to break later. I'm telling you, y'all. And I just roasted that thing probably like a month or so ago. I noticed a big change. I think I carried pieces of it for a while. You got to keep going in your walk, in your healing. And when you don't think it's going to come, as long as you're working on understanding new material on your healing process to sharpen you up to make you better. But following your passions and working on your healing are two things, for instance, that will help anxiety and depression. And anxiety is to think too far ahead, to tell yourself you can't do it. But you're not supposed to think that far ahead. Sometimes be able to enjoy life and maybe do something off the cuff. I'm not saying to be reckless, but what I am saying is once in a while it would be real fun to be like, to come home one Friday and be like, hey, let's go here, you know, let's go out of town for a couple days or something, you know, if you could swing it. And being a nurse, you can, but it's like anxiety is to look too far ahead, and anxiety also comes from you not having sovereign control over your life. And that means that you have other people plugged in to you and they have influence. And you probably know this if you were to pay attention to it and to jot down anybody in your life that has some sort of influence in your life. Now, I'm not saying an influence that you enjoy, that you have signed up to. Now, that's one thing. That's like a coach, or you could look at them like that. But more or less like somebody who has influence in your life out of fear or out of anxiety, that you're scared to tell the truth to, some truth in your life about you having a difference of opinion. And that's just the way it is. It's like, it should be okay. Even if it's like against your form of religion, you just can't control people, man. And you never win that way. You never win. You know, you just got to love them. If people, I mean, speaking to the parents, it's like, if your children or your children that become adults, I mean, you should be coaching them until they're 18 or 21. Okay, I get that. But I also get that you should, let the brakes off a little each year so that they can take control of their life slowly but surely. So that when you do let go of them, they're not still looking to hold your hand or for you to like make all the decisions for them, And you're going to have to accept the fact that they're not going to like everything that you like. And so be it. Listen, your kids may never decide to go the pathway that you did. And maybe you in your heart feel like you're better than the choices they picked. Well, you had kids, but you didn't have kids to have clones. And that's what the narcissist makes. They make clones, people who don't think. They just do what they're told. And out of fear, if they don't, they're going to get in big, big trouble. I mean, and the black sheep don't have that, don't take that. I mean, they do for a time. But at some point, we break from that. If we have to lose everybody, everybody, we're going to have our freedom, damn it. There's nothing worth your freedom. To breathe and to be able to stretch and to be able to feel comfortable in your skin and not be depressed or anxious and just accept life for what it is and who you are. And if people don't like it, damn it, then they can kiss your ass. Then they can kiss your ass. And you just keep doing what you're doing. Because it is what it is. You're going to do it anyway. You're just going to lie to them and hide it. And, a lot of people don't want to deal with the judgmental stuff or any of that. But the fact of the matter is, you have to do what you choose to do. And you have to let your kids do it too. And if they end up like criminals, oh well, that was their choice. They wanted to become a criminal. Some want to be garbage. Some want to be good, upstanding, wholesome people with values. And some don't. I mean, I think the biggest thing is if your kid's going to get like that, you can't come around the house. I'll meet you at a restaurant or something, but you ain't bringing that crap around my house. It's just one of those things. You got to do what makes you happy. And depression is to think too much in the past, you know, to allow yourself to dwell on the past, and it's dead. And it wasn't right for you. If it's causing depressive thoughts, it wasn't right for you. Or it was right for you, but you messed it up. And that's depression that you should deal with, you know. But take that depression and turn it into fuel to make change. So you don't do it again. But you got to let go of what you did as far as carrying it. But you have to accept it. You have to make amends with it, apologize, and then you got to, you know, turn over a new leaf. That's the problem. Most people, they don't care to change what they've done, and they keep revolving in cycles of toxicity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We all know that causes. That's chaotic. It's just that's psychotic. So anyway, I guess that's what I wanted to talk about today. Till next time, soldier, peace be out.